Hello. It is our distinct pleasure to welcome you to a candid conversation for your edification.
We are a group of people who have discovered that honesty and authenticity reside at the core of how we navigate through life.
We use our experiences and perspectives to consistently and intentionally build each other up.
We speak life and we speak truth.
We honor the capacity within ourselves, within each other, and within all of you.
We honor the journey and we honor the growth.
Join us as we speak candidly,
as we speak truth to power
and to the process.
And we promise that you will leave this experience
more full,
more uplifted,
and more edified.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode of A Candid Conversation for your edification. I'm Adam, and you might notice that our beloved co-host Lydia is not here today, and that's okay. We're still going to keep it going, but we have the pleasure of having the team here of ACC. We have Dr. Kyle Williams here, our Chief Production Officer, and we have Mr. Brandon Johnson, our Chief Operations Officer. And wouldn't you know it, we all happen to be educators. So why don't we just have an episode about our lives in the education arena? We're just going to talk about it. We're just going to talk about it. So what I want us to do is just enjoy this conversation with the crew. And if you're curious about how we as educators, Black male educators, navigate our professions, how this infuses into our personal lives, then sit back, relax, and enjoy this conversation. This is another episode of our WAP series. It's called Watch and Pray. So as you are listening to this conversation, also think about the themes that emerge about being prayerful, having vision, and how those things really have informed our lives and our passions as educators. So, first things first, I don't know if the viewers know our lives as educators yet.
No.
I don't think they do. So our viewers and listeners, I think it would be beneficial to just, let's all tell us a little bit about ourselves and how we found our way into this wonderful profession that is education.
No.
Okay.
Who wants to go ahead? I think the doctor should go first. The doctor, Kyle Williams. I think the doctor should go first.
So I am, it's nice to be here in front of the camera. I'm so used to being behind the camera. I'm Dr. Kyle Williams. I currently work as the assistant director at Washington University in St. Louis, and I actually also teach at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. I got into this work, I like to say I was tricked and bamboozled. I did not know that you could do the work that I do every day as a professional. I went to school at Edified College, go Cardinals, and I went to school actually for my music degree. So I actually have a bachelor's in vocal performance. I wanted to be the background singer to Janet Jackson.
Yes.
I wanted to travel, I wanted to sing, and I did not want to be in front, I just wanted to do what I wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
But actually working at Otterbein allowed me, and I had great mentors, Dr. Angela Harris, who's actually your soror, who really saw something inside of me and helped me look at education as a profession. So I went and got my master's at Old Dominion University, go Monarchs, and then worked in the field, and then got my doctorate from Texas A&M University Commerce, go Lions.
Come on, decorated.
And just have enjoyed the work in my field, and the work that I do has really been in helping to ensure that Black men have a space to continue to grow. I think I had a lot of mentors who were women and white men, but there weren't a lot of Black men that I saw in the profession. And so the ability to be a Black male who helps other Black men move forward was something that I wanted to do.
Awesome.
So that is how I got tricked and bamboozled into this work of education, and have not looked back, and actually having enjoyed every moment of it.
Awesome. that was good. It was good. How about you, Brandon?
Oh, Lord. I've been on the hoodwink train for a while now. So, very, very similar to Dr. Williams' story. I was heavily involved as a student leader. People knew me across campus. Had somebody tell me, "Oh, you can do this as a career." And I was like, "Okay, how much it costs though?" Because I didn't want to just do something if it wasn't going to be giving me no coin, right? So did that. But what's interesting about it is kind of similar to your story about having black male representation. That was the reason why people said I should enter the field, because there's not a lot of black men who see you. They can look at you and be like, wow, like there's somebody who gets my story. So that's how I was hoodwinked into it, and I fell for it, but I like it. So went to Western Illinois University. Go Leathernecks.
Leathernecks.
Yeah. It's a
All
long
right.
story.
Interesting.
It is an intimate story. Went and got my master's at Iowa State University. Go Cyclones.
Okay.
I haven't got the PhD yet, but it will be coming soon. Stay tuned. And so so right now, I work as a student services coordinator at Washington University in St. Louis.
Go Bears.
Yeah,
Go Bears.
It's cute, it's fun. Enjoy what I do every single day. But how do you mix, sort of being a role model during the pandemic?
Oh, that's a conversation.
Because I don't have enough energy in my cup every day to pour out.
That's a lot of prayer.
But you
Yeah.
still have to, because people depend on you to do things. So that's my tea.
So yeah, we haven't heard about your journey
So no
as you're
offense.
representing Tougaloo College
Tougaloo
on
College.
HBCUs.
So I am also I work in education. So I currently work as a math curriculum coordinator for a school district here, Briggs and Fortune School District, and I also teach, as you do. I teach on the side at Harrisville State University as well as an adjunct instructor. So, like both of you, I never envisioned a career in education. I didn't grow up wanting to be a teacher, all that kind of stuff. The desire to become an educator happened in college. I was tutoring. I was like, oh, okay, I like teaching. I figured I liked teaching. I liked helping out. So, well, let me pursue this and as a college student, because like you, Kyle, I have an undergrad degree in music, vocal performance, and so I thought I was gonna maybe not perform, but be a composer, be like a more scientific musician in those ways. But I also have a degree in mathematics as well. So I got my master's in math education. So I went to Tougaloo College for my bachelor's. Go Bulldogs. And then I went to /Eagles. We have two mascots. That's a whole other story. And then I went to Vanderbilt University for my master's. Go Doors. Commodores. And then I went to, and then I went to, and I'm currently pursuing my PhD at University of Southern Mississippi. Go Golden Eagles. So I'll hopefully get that, that soon. But all that to say, I kind of stumbled into it myself as well. And it kind of grew into what it is now. And the journey is interesting, right? Because like the both of you, we followed a vision. We had a passion to support, to mentor, to guide, to lead, to nurture. So and all those passions, even though we didn't know what they would become, they have become what they are today. So we had a vision that aligned with passion and purpose, and those themes in another episode. But I kind of want us to really center our conversation today. We're all educators, we're all in this field, we all have made it work for us. And I really want to talk around having that vision, having that watchful eye, and seeing not only where we are currently, but also trajectories into the future, into other things, etc.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because when we think about the work that we do, we're doing it, as you said, we're doing it because there weren't a lot of people that were there for us, or we didn't see that. And, how do we then mentor and inspire others to come into the field that we are in now? And how do we connect that? And I think that even as I think about the work that we do, or I do, I'll say that, like, that I do on my campus and have done is really about, you know, inspiring other people to continue along that passion, and then continuing to encourage them in whatever faith they have to continue to aspire to the next step.
So I want to say something to that point, because the reason why I went to math education is because, like y'all had already said earlier, I didn't see that many black male math teachers, right? When we think about our schooling, who are the math teachers from you know, early on and even until college? Like we don't see a lot of us in those classrooms, in those instructor or professor seats. So that was another reason why I was motivated to get a not only a degree in mathematics, but also get like my credentials and like all those other things to be able to sit in those seats to so students could see me in these spaces, so that we couldn't chart a path for students because they now see someone who looks like them. So it's kind of like charting our own path, really. So while we are guiding and while we're leading, so we're also charting kind of our own path in ways, because we had not seen it the same way that we're trying to do it.
Yep. Yep. And it's inspiring, but it's also, it's sad, because of the fact that why aren't there other people who look like us doing this work? And I even, when I was getting my doctorate, people were asking if I was doing quantitative or qualitative. So I just want to hats off to you for doing math, because a lot of people who are getting their degrees, particularly higher in their terminal degree, will choose a qualitative style, which means that you're using a lot of stories,
Yes.
because of the fact that we as Black people are typically more story-oriented individuals. We think about how things are passed down,
Yes.
versus looking at numbers. A lot of Black people typically won't look at numbers because we're not stronger in mathematics and stronger in statistics, and so that can sometimes be
It's a barrier.
it's a huge barrier.
It's a barrier.
I almost cried through my entire year of statistics. I got a 4.0.
Come on, very good.
But it was a very hard concept to think about and change the way in which I typically look at things, and actually did my dissertation in quantitative because they said if you do quantitative, you can get done quicker.
Yeah.
So
Typically.
I was like, well, quantitative it is for me. But it is definitely something that we don't have a lot of Black people in, or doing numbers and quantitative types of things. But yeah, I prayed hard through statistics.
You need to, because first of all, Adam, math, let me tell you something. I struggle so much in math, I can do the basics, okay? But all them...
1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah, but I'm struggling with that sometimes, you know, because like we don't be doing math that much. Because I remember I was in, high school, probably college, and we was doing what's the things called formulas and these Pythagorean theorems and all this other stuff. And they were like, you're gonna use this in everyday life. Never lied to me. So I'm sitting over here like, I still don't know it, right? But I think that a lot of times what I've seen is you have to think about the school systems that a lot of folks are coming from, and particularly in the Black community, particularly in the public school system, they're already, you know, shaping your curriculum from a deficit approach.
Yes, correct.
And so when you get to like high school or college, like level courses, you don't know like what you're doing, and then you experience imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Because you're like, everybody around me is just getting it, and I'm not getting it, and then you start to really think about like, am I worth it to be here? Like, do I deserve to be here right now when everybody else is so far ahead and I'm behind? And that's what particularly a lot of the Black men that I've actually worked with in my career, they've always come from that type of approach.
And I'm so glad that y'all surfaced that, because I think as we think about our work and our place in our work, a lot of what we're trying to do is mitigate those barriers. We're trying to disrupt those inequities and give people who look like us more access to, whether it be coursework, access to knowledge, access to resources, access to conversations, access to rooms with high rolling individuals or whatever. Like, we are in our work, so while we're passionate about our work and leading, I think that I can say that we're leading with a specific lens, not only to educate the masses, but I think we're really looking to educate us, and we're looking to lead us because of the structural barriers that we've had to endure coming up to get to where we are. And we want to bring somebody else up that doesn't have to have it as quote unquote difficult as we did. Mm-hmm. We want to make the path easier. Mm-hmm. Because like you said, math is a barrier. Statistics is a barrier. I just currently teach statistics now. So I want to mitigate those barriers. Mm-hmm. Everybody, let's all eat at this table. You can do this math too, you can do the statistics too. Go forth and prosper and rub elbows with those who didn't think you could do it. Right. So we're all in that work, and I think that's part of our vision is part of our vision, thinking about watching and praying, part of our watchman's eye is to oversee the land and oversee those who need to be pulled up, and how we can use our skill sets and our knowledge to be that liaison.
Yeah.
It's very interesting how being a student and then going from being a student to being an educator, you see things so much differently. I'm like, man, if I would have just seen this when I was a student, I could have done so many things differently. But then I think about the experiences that I had, I wouldn't change any of it. Mm-hmm. Because if it wasn't for those experiences, I wouldn't be so much of an advocate for their experiences and just telling people, no, this is what they need. You think that this is what they need. They don't need this. They don't need somebody telling them that they can't, because they've had that experiences consistently throughout their journey just to get here, right? So again, how do we flip these deficit approaches just to the work that we do as educators? How do we flip it so that way, like you said, Adam, everybody gets a seat at the table? Mm-hmm.
Hey y'all, it's Precious Simone with Precious Simone Inspires LLC. Y'all know I'm in the business of inspiring and motivating and encourage others to walk in their purpose. That's what I'm all about. I believe that individuals have the ability to unlock their potential when they dismantle disempowering beliefs and they do whatever it takes to go after their goals, after their dreams, and be an active candidate in their own personal growth. You have to be a participant. Nobody else can grow you like you. You know yourself better than anybody, and I'm telling you, you know what you need to be successful. All of the keys to be successful are locked on the inside of you, but you don't know how to use your keys. And so I'm here to encourage you how to use your keys to be successful. In my new book, yes y'all, my new #1 new release, my best-selling book, Whatever It Takes Evolve, here it is. I give you some life-altering tips to help you grow, to help you push yourself, stretch yourself, and come out of your comfort zone so that you can go to the next level in your life. So you can purchase this online, Amazon.com, y'all. Here it is. And also, I got my lovely growth apparel. Let's evolve together. Nobody is in this journey alone. You can find this on my website, www.precioussimone.com, y'all. Come on, let's grow.
All right. So as you notice, we call this watch and pray, but as you notice, we kind of got into our own little conversation over here. We were talking shop, y'all. Talking shop about what it means to be an educator in this, as a black man, what it means to try to lead somebody else up that looks like you. And it's hard work. So we call it watch and pray because it is important to be prayerful. It's important to have a vision, right?
Talk about it.
I mean, but we can really call this what about professors, right? Or what about there's so many ways we can name this show. But I'm so happy that we're in this space together to have these conversations. Because a lot of us out there, a lot of our listeners and viewers are in the education field, so it's a lot of us are having these conversations. I think we need to have more of these conversations, and to really build up our continue filling our own cups. Mm-hmm. So that we can fill the cups of others, and that's so necessary in this work. So speaking of filling up cups, let's think about let's kind of talk about how faith plays a role in our lives, our personal lives and our professional lives. What does it mean to have faith, and how does that faith feed into and pour into others?
Yeah, I think when I was in school, my story is the fact that I come from a single mother. Shout out to Queen Rockwell Creations.
Rockwell Creations here.
Creations.
You see the cups, don't you?
Yep.
You see the shirt? Yeah, exactly.
So she raised me, but I actually got a chance to watch my mom go to school. And so that inspired me to, continue my education when I graduated from high school. And throughout everything, I think for me, faith played a large part in the fact that I had to believe that God doesn't give us more than we can bear.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think we're always told when we grow up in church, like, he doesn't give you anything more than you can bear, and we use that mantra. But then as I got older, I realized he does. And he does give us more than we can bear, because that's how you continue to grow. That's how you get stronger. Because if we stay in the deficit of, he never gives me more than I can bear, then that means that for me, I expect then that God is not going to challenge me to continue to grow. And you can't get more muscle if you only lift 10-pound weights. So for me, I think about how I grew from my undergraduate career, the trials and tribulations I had, and even in my graduate profession, and then you need a lot of prayer going through your doctorate.
Yes.
I would not have gotten here if I kept believing that God doesn't give me more than I can bear. So all of the challenges, all of the tribulations, all of the tests that have become my testimony are because of the fact that I had the faith to keep going. And it's hard to keep faith when you're going through any degree. It's hard to keep faith when you're going through any struggle. And I actually had a conversation this morning with someone that said, not everyone has to go to school. There are people who have not gone to school that are making 2 times the amount of money that I'm making. But the point of the matter is you still have to have faith when you have that vision. You still have to have faith when you're going through what you want to do, and to have faith in knowing that God will lead you. I believe in God, so that's why I say God, but that he will lead you into the purpose that he has for you, but to not expect it to just be easy. Nothing comes easy. And so, like, I even talked about my statistics class. That was a lot of work. I think I lost some hair. I think I lost some weight that I've now found. But the fact of the matter is, I had to have the faith, and I told God, I said, I want to graduate with a 4.0 for my doctorate. And I had to go through statistics to get that. And so that entire year, I was in the library, and even as an educator, studying with my students. And so we all were there at the table studying together. And as they were struggling, I was struggling. And I had some undergrads who were strong in math that helped me understand it. But then also the ability to know that the village around me in my cohort was also there. But we all had faith. And so that's how faith and prayer has played a part in my collegiate experience.
Ooh. Shall we pass a collection plate now or later?
We could pass it now. I know we're not paying student loans right now because of the 0% interest and 0 payments.
Right.
But I can put some money on it.
I know that's right. But I think that's so. Thank you so much, Kyle, for speaking your truth in this way, because I think we need to hear this. We need to hear that we are powerful, we are strong, we are resilient, and people tell us these things. But it's one thing to know it for yourself and really internalize it. And I think that, like to Brandon, your point earlier about like imposter syndrome. If you're not familiar with that term, imposter syndrome, that just means you feel like you're an imposter in whatever space that you inhabit. You feel like you don't deserve to be at your place of employment because you're not smart enough, or you don't know enough, or etc. So and we know that imposter syndrome plagues us more heavily because of the messages that we've been given as Black people growing up and from media, etc. So how do you push past that? So I think, Kyle, your words about, no, actually, I can do this. It feels heavy right now, but I'm more than capable. I'm more than capable to triumph over this trial. So thank you so much for those words. And so speaking of, so you spoke from an internal lens. Well, I wonder what that means for us, for those students whom we mentor. How do we I guess communicate that message to those who are struggling and those who are feeling those ways that we have felt before? So how do you use your faith, and how do we use our faith to be able to inspire others to have that faith in themselves as well.
Sometimes it's role modeling the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not understand that until I was in Texas. And this goes back to even faith. When I applied to go to Texas A&M University of Commerce, I knew that it was away from, it was 14 and a half hours away from my mother. It's an hour and a half outside of Dallas. So it's really, at the speed limit, it's 75 miles an hour with like 2 stoplights, one when you get in and one when you leave. And it's a very small place with these students who are amazing. But when I got there, I literally broke down in the first 2 weeks and said, God, why do you have me here? I can't do this. And it ended up being one of the best experiences of my life. And the reason why is because it showed me, to your question, how you inspire and role model with others about what is your faith and how strong is your faith. And sometimes with your students, you have to be able to inspire them. You have to be able to sit with them and listen to them and encourage them in ways. And it's not even about faith. Sometimes you have to ask, like I've had to ask God, like, what do I need to say to this student? Mm-hmm. What do I need to say to this student because they just found out that they're going to be a parent in the middle of their college education? What do I say to this student who is friends with the Dallas sniper and everyone's talking about how this young man is like downplaying him, when really not saying, like, if you know that the Dallas sniper is someone who was shooting at police officers after a lot of shooting that happened in America, and it was a black man that did it, but it was in Dallas. A lot of my students came from Dallas. A lot of my students knew this person. So it was like, how do I inspire them in this space when this is their friend? How do I inspire, and what do I need to say to lead students when they're watching black men like Trayvon Martin and Sandra Bland being killed, you know, across the media? So really it is, God will raise up, I think, leaders to be there for them. And it is hard when your cup isn't full and you have to go to work and you have to say something. But it's the ability to also even have, sometimes your students are the ones who inspire you. Mm. Because when you look at some of their stories and you look at what they're dealing with, I had students that were parents. I had students that had been to jail. I had students that were homeless. I had students that were undocumented. And so the ability to even think about, I have an undocumented student, and to listen to her story and now say, I'm able to take this and help inspire others and to help role model and lead, while I was also getting my degree. So I think that was something that truly was the ability to demonstrate and role model that we can get this together. My favorite story is one of my students, who I call my son, we called him DJ iPad because he was in the lobby DJing on his iPad and not going to class. But the ability to talk with him and say, what is it you want to do? And to inspire him to get through his degree. And he happened to join a wonderful organization. I won't name any organizations here because that's not the point. But he graduated the same weekend I graduated.
Awesome.
So I graduated with my doctorate on Friday, and he graduated with his bachelor's on Saturday. And so that combination of just being there for him in that moment and praying with him and praying over him and keeping him and lifting him is how I do that. That's the important part about mentorship. And if you think about our ancestors, a lot of our ancestors pray for people who, I think about the grandmother who prays for their grandchildren. Mm-hmm. Because I think about, I'm here because I had a grandmother who prayed for me when I couldn't pray for myself. And I stand on the shoulders of the ancestors who came before me. So it is my job to be that leader and that black male role model, to pray for my students. And when students say, I want to be like you when I grow up, I would say, you have to be better. Because it's our job. As educators, I feel, and sometimes in these roles, it's not to just pull people to where we are. It's to pull them up and throw them in the future so that they can then reach back and pull people so that we can continue to change what's happened over the generations of not only education, but just experiences and other things that plague the Black community.
Yeah, because I think about so many students who, I keep thinking about the climate that we're in, and I have to think to myself, I'm like, I never even went through half of what these students are experiencing now, and so I have to be, empathetic to that, and I have to realize that and recognize that when I'm working with these students, that there's a lot that's going on in the world that is consuming their minds each and every day, and it's not even academic related. And so sometimes when students, when they come to me, or sometimes I kid you not, I had a student that came into my office, and I could just see the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he didn't have to even say anything, because he came in, he was like, he called me Mr. J. He was from the South, very respectful. He never called educators by their first name. Called him Mr. J. I'm like, okay, cool. He came in. He sat on the couch in my office, and I just said, yeah, it's one of those days. Like it's been one of these months, and then he just went on and on. So I think sometimes you have to just give them that space. You have to give them the outlet, just so that way they know, okay, this is something I can be comfortable with, just being vulnerable with. Because when I step outside of this office space or this classroom, I have to go face the world. And this is one moment where I can actually just breathe and just let it all out. Yes. And sometimes I tell my students, I'm like, listen, I'm not a therapist, I ain't no counselor, but I will listen. And I will try to give you as much experience and as much nuggets that I've gotten. Because, sometimes I always tell students, I'm like, I see a great deal of what I went through in you. And, sometimes I have to tell my students, I'm like, I see where you're going, but you don't see it. But I see it for you. It's that faith. I have that much faith in you that I see where you're going, even though you can't see it, because it's just it's a lot of clouds in the way.
Yeah.
So, sometimes you just have to give them that encouragement and that type of, like, I'm not going to give up on you. I'm not going to let you give up on yourself. This is what we're going to do. How can I get you to that point?
And I would even add, even as a leader in an institution, we take on that burden of having to also inspire people who look like us, who are in the academy.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah.
I've had many conversations with people who come to my office like, what in the... and like, this is...
Yeah.
And I think as someone, I don't consider myself seasoned, but when I look at newer professionals, there's a lot that one is still not taught in some of our graduate programs.
For sure, yes.
And so we don't talk a lot about diversity and how to navigate some of the political aspects. And then I think our world in education is still breeding people who are, I want to say at the core, like, want to fight the system. And so we want to come in and do all this work, and then we get in and it's politicized. And I wanted to do education because I didn't want to deal with all of the politics of the world, but the politics of the world are really within education. There's a lot in education.
That's one other episode.
So, but the ability to work with newer professionals and say, this is how you can do it. I believe in you. I have faith in you.
Yes.
I understand what you're going through. And then even understanding that the level of the table sometimes you sit at, you have to figure out how you challenge your leaders. Because your staff has faith in you, because they've seen you role model things. And you might know how you've been in that space for them. So sometimes you have to think about and pray before you go in. God, give me the words when I walk into this meeting or send this email. How do I convey what I need to say to get what needs to be done? And sometimes if you're not getting what you need, you have to have the faith to walk away. And knowing that is sometimes the hardest thing to do. But if that's not the environment for you, you have to pray and sometimes say, God, deliver me. And deliverance might mean you walk away from that job and you have nothing, but you have to have faith that you will be sustained. And I think that is something that we don't talk a lot about because of the fact we all have bills to pay, but the ability to just hold true to that.
And I want to add to that. So, and I think that a lot of us, listeners, viewers, etc., can really understand that and feel that. But I think with educators, it becomes especially difficult because we're not walking away from a job, we're walking away from students.
Yes.
So like that becomes the hardest part. I know I've left jobs, and the hardest part was for me to leave my kiddos. But what I had to tell myself was that I need to make sure my cup is full, because right now my cup is not full because of this job. So therefore I cannot pour into my students the same way that I would if I were satisfied. So, and I had to have that faith to walk away in myself, and also have the faith in my students that they're gonna be okay. I'm not their only mentor. They're gonna be fine. They know how to contact me. So it's like having that faith that also my gifts are not just housed here at this institution. The same difference I've made here with these students, I can make that same difference at another institution, because I know my skill set, I know my knowledge base, I know how much I love the work that I do, I know how much I love students.
Yeah.
And I want to kind of round out this conversation, because we've talked about a lot, y'all. And I want to, first of all, thank you for bringing your expertise here. I mean, not only as Chief Operations Officer Brandon and Chief Production Officer Kyle, but also just bringing your expertise, bringing your vulnerability to this space to really contribute to a conversation that we have to continually have. And to all of our educators out there, thank you so much. And thank you for the work that you're doing. We see you, we feel you,
We feel
we're
you.
here for you. Until next time, y'all, stay edified. Hey, friends.
Follow us on Facebook at A Candid Conversation Podcast.
Follow us on Instagram at _candid_conversation.
And for more information, email us at acandidconversationpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you. Be edified.